Double bag alert. We got another double bag alert. We got another double bag alert, folks. Zach Wilson gets traded to the Broncos. Jamar Chase, PS2, and Micah Parsons get their fifth-year option picked up. Trey Hendrickson throwing out retirement. Penei Sewell resetting the market. And Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're going to talk about all of this and more on the fifth episode of the Football Junkies podcast. I'm your host, great GM. Okay, future Hall of Fame GM that's not on a team right now, Kale. Let's get it. All right, folks. The day that we have all been waiting for. That's right, the draft. The draft is tonight, okay? People are going to get called. Playmakers are going to be added to teams. The deck is about to change. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how excited I am for the draft tonight. But we didn't come here to talk about the draft. Not today. No. Because we have double bag alerts, folks. That's right. Receiver for the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, okay, inked a 4-year, $120 million deal. $77 million of that is guaranteed. And now he is the highest paid receiver in the league right now. Now, let's take a look at everything before we, get into, celebratory mood, okay? Amon-Ra St. Brown, since being drafted by the Lions, has proven that he is the number one receiver on that team. No matter what anyone says, no matter, what this analyst or what this former player, may want to try to debate. Amon-Ra St. Brown is that dude. Okay. He has continued to show consistency, and he has continued to show up in the biggest moments when his team needs him. Okay. Just this past season, he had 119 receptions, 1,515 yards, and 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns, folks, okay? In 2022, he had 108 receptions, 1,161 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And in his first season, he had 90 receptions, 912 yards, 5 touchdowns. Now, granted, his rookie year, probably wasn't the best by some. But this shows you that he can be a 1,000-yard reception, double-digit touchdown caliber player. Amon-Ra St. Brown is not being talked about as much as a Deebo Samuel, a Cooper Kupp, a Devontae Adams, a A.J. Brown, a Tyreek Hill, or a Justin Jefferson. Why? I don't know. But this dude, he is an elite receiver. For him to do the things that he do, game in and game out, is amazing. And I am so happy for him. Now, to the other Lions player that got the bag, Penei Sewell. That's right. You got to love your offensive linemen, especially your tackles, all right? Because your tackles make sure your quarterback stays clean. Remember that. Now, Penei Sewell inked a 4-year, $112 million deal. $85 million of that is guaranteed. 42.9 of that is guaranteed at signing, which averages around $28 million a year. And he now is the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. Leading up to that draft, where it was Penei Sewell, Jamar Chase, and a few other players, there was a debate going on for specifically the Bengals on whether they should have drafted, Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase. And ultimately, it ended with the Bengals drafting Joe Burrow's teammate at LSU and Jamar Chase, and the Lions picking Penei Sewell. Now, I'm going to try to be as non-biased as I possibly can. But since Penei Sewell has gotten into the league, you can make a strong case that he has been the best, one of the best right tackles in the league. He has consistently showed greatness in every single game, every single matchup. He is holding his own the best way possible. They've used him even in trick plays. I think he's even gotten a first down. I think he got a first down in one play. He can do it all. Okay. And that is the offensive lineman if we're being real here, that the Bengals needed. Now, I wanna try to paint a picture. In a perfect world, what if the Bengals did draft Penei Sewell? Could we make a case that Joe Burrow probably wouldn't get hurt as much? Could we make a case that they probably would have won the Super Bowl when they, made that run that year? Who knows? We'll never know. But it's safe to say that this is a reason why when you have players like a Penei Sewell, coming into the draft, you have to get them, especially if it's a need, simply because all great offensive linemen, they're hard to find. They're super hard to find. The Lane Johnsons, the Trent Williams, the Ronnie Stanleys of the world. Those are hard players to find in the draft. And when you have a draft where you may have one or two prospects that might be on that level or could get to that level, you have to go and you have to get them. You have to. You have no choice, but you have to address it because teams now are beginning to value the defensive line more. That's why you are beginning to see so many defensive linemen, players, especially pass rushers, get paid the amount of money that they get paid. Whether we want to admit it or not, folks, pass rushers are going to continue to get bigger, stronger, faster, and way more athletic. And the only way that you can counter that is if you get a perennial great offensive lineman, especially your tackles. Your tackles, they have to be top tier. Okay, guards, you can interchange guards, honestly speaking here. But your tackles, those are your foundational pieces. And if you don't invest into your tackles, what's going to happen is your quarterback is going to get hurt more. And when they get hurt more, that lessens the chance of you actually making a run to potentially try to win a championship. Whether we want to admit it or not, folks, if you don't have an offensive line, you're not going to get far, no matter if you're in the NFC or AFC. You are not going to get far because I guarantee you, you're going to go up against a team that's going to have a TJ Watt, a Myles Garrett, a Max Crosby, a Nick Bosa, a Zadarius Smith, a Josh Allen, a Brian Burns, all those different type of pass rushers who can consistently go at you all 4 quarters, especially TJ Watt. But that's another story for another day. But I say all that to say this. Let this be a reminder on why you should always value your offensive linemen, especially your tackles. Make sure that your quarterback stays clean. And if your quarterback is not staying clean, that is a problem that the offensive line has to address. Just saying. Now, let's talk about these fifth-year options, okay? So we have Patrick Surtain II. We have Jamar Chase, and we have Micah Parsons, who all three of them and their respective teams, they have decided to pick up the fifth-year option for them. Now, here's where things can get a little bit tricky, okay? With PS2's fifth-year option, he will be making $19.8 million this upcoming season, but his market value would be a 4-year, $82.3 million deal, which averages around $20.5 million, which would make him the second highest paid corner according to SpotRack, okay? When you look at Jamar Chase's fifth-year option, valued around $21.8 million. Now, when you look at his market value, according to SpotRack, he would be valued for a 4-year, $104.5 million deal, which would average around $26.1 million, which would make him the fourth highest paid receiver, according to SpotRack. When you look at Micah Parsons' fifth-year option, which is valued at $21.32 million for this upcoming season, all of these fifth-year options are pretty good price points. However, the problem with Jamar Chase and Micah, well, specifically Jamar Chase, is that technically speaking here, the Bengals should have paid Jamar Chase this year because whether we want to admit it or not, the receiver market is a ticking time bomb once again. Now, granted, Amon-Ra St. Brown, currently holds the title as the highest paid receiver, but pretty soon that's going to get taken away because Justin Jefferson still has to get paid, CeeDee Lamb still has to get paid, Brandon Ayuk still has to get paid, and T. Higgins still has to get paid. So between one of those four, someone is going to reset the market again. It's going to happen before the end of the 2025 season. Someone's going to reset the receiver market again. And so what you're seeing is, especially for the Bengals, they're in a rock and a hard place simply because you have two, elite receivers who are looking for big time money. T. Higgins is still looking for a deal, even though he's already requested for a trade. Who is to say that Jamar Chase won't do the same thing? Because the Bengals can't pay both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It just can't happen because neither one of them is probably going to want to take, less than the other. They're probably going to want, more than what the other person got, which, I mean, you can't really blame them for that. But when it comes to the Cowboys situation, right, with Micah Parsons, he can honestly speaking, if he has a crazy year, I'm talking about, he could win a defensive player of the year, that could price him out of Dallas. Because right now, Micah Parsons is on a path where if he hits free agency, I can't promise you that he won't reset the market for pass rushers again. I can't promise you that simply because of how talented he is. Because not only can he play, as a pass rusher, he could also probably play pretty well, maybe even elite as a linebacker, a middle linebacker to be specific. So there's so many different, layers to these type of situations when it comes to contracts, honestly. Because when you have players like Brandon Ayuk, who is in active contract negotiations with his team, this now changes the entire playing field because now the price just went up. It literally just went up, and it's going to continue to go up unless they try to come up with a deal right now. Because whether we want to admit it or not, Justin Jefferson is going to get paid. He's probably going to crack that 30 million a year threshold, as well as CeeDee Lamb. And so if you're the 49ers, at some point you have to put a line in the sand. You just have to. And I'm not saying this because, I want Brandon Ayuk to get traded to my team. I'm saying that because when you are a Super Bowl caliber team, you cannot pay every person top dollar. Someone's going to have to take less. Someone. And they're in a situation right now where they realize, hey, this might be our final last chance of actually trying to win a championship. Because after this upcoming season, they're going to lose more players. And who is to say that they will be able to really recover from that? Especially when you have teams like the Rams who they don't have a whole lot of holes in their team, and they could probably address a lot of their needs in this draft and probably post-draft, and it's smooth sailing. And then you also have to worry about the Seahawks, who, me personally, I consider a dark horse. That defense is young. Their new head coach is very crafty when it comes to scheming up defenses. If you don't know who I'm talking about Mike McDonald. He was the former defensive coordinator for the Rams. He is going to make that defense crazy good. I'm talking about close to the Legion of Boom as possible. They got the secondary. They just have to figure out what they're going to do with the middle linebackers. Defensive line, that's not really that big of a priority. They can probably get somebody in the third or fourth round, and it really won't matter to them. So I say all that to say this: you have to be careful when you're in contract negotiations, because yesterday's price is not today's price, as the great philosopher Fat Joe said. Shout out to Fat Joe. Yesterday's price is not today's price. And you're going to continue to see that moving forward into the summer. Watch what I say. Listen to your GM. The GM knows. I see the patterns. Now that we have addressed all the bag alerts, fifth-year options and whatnot, let's talk about Zach Wilson getting traded to the Broncos. That's right. former Jets quarterback Zach Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos. So let's go over the details first before we really analyze exactly why this move was made. Okay. So the Broncos receive, of course, Zach Wilson and a 2024 seventh round pick, while the Jets receive only a 2024 sixth round pick. Okay. When you look at it, it was just time for a new scenery with Zach Wilson. Okay. Zach Wilson, by all means, failed in New York. He did. Now, can we blame all of this on Zach Wilson? No, we cannot. But can we say that Zach Wilson, could have done more with what he had? Yes. Yes, for sure. At this point in his career, this is probably going to be your last chance to really compete for a starting caliber quarterback job. Because right now, the Broncos are in a situation where they don't have a quote unquote, bona fide starter at quarterback. They don't. And if we're being real here, if they do decide to draft a quarterback, the only quarterback that might be available to them that, some people have given him a first round grade for is Bo Nix. And even then, who's to say that Bo Nix can beat Zach Wilson and vice versa, honestly speaking here. Not to mention, I think him going to a offensive minded coach might actually help him out more than staying with Robert Saleh. Now I know there's probably some fellow junkies out there that are probably thinking, well, Zach Wilson may not do it. He may not be able to succeed out there. This is the same Sean Payton who took Drew Brees and literally made him into one of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation. Okay. Whether we want to admit it or not, Sean Payton has an image for the Broncos. And he probably realized that Russell Wilson was not a part of that image. And so, they just decided to wipe their hands clean from that situation and just move on. And so now they're in a position where he can execute what he really wants for his quarterback. Okay. Can Zach Wilson, be a good quarterback? Yes. I think he can still be a good quarterback. But to say that he can be, an elite quarterback who can, win you out of a stadium or win you playoff games or go up against, some of the best quarterbacks in like Mahomes and Herbert and Burrow and Lamar and Jalen Hurts and whatnot, I don't know. I truly do not believe that. But, who knows? We really don't know. Only time will tell. Rooting for his success. And let's see what happens. Now, let's talk about the bombshell that happened yesterday afternoon. So Trey Hendrickson has decided to officially request a trade from the Cincinnati Bengals, citing that he wants to get paid again. Now, for those who don't know, Hendrickson signed an extension not too long ago, but he is still looking for more money. Now, granted, Trey Hendrickson so far in his career has had 3 double-digit sack seasons in 2020, 2021, and in 2023, according to ESPN. Now, for someone like Trey Hendrickson, who has played a very pivotal role on that Bengals defense, he does deserve to get paid. However, the problem is, and history has shown, the Bengals do not like to pay their players a lot. They just don't. I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's their philosophy. I don't know if that's something that the owner, stands on. But, when you have someone like Trey Hendrickson who plays a very pivotal role on that defense, and basically, since all of the major departures from the defense, including, Von Bell, DJ Reader, Larry Ogunjobi, and company, the defense has significantly regressed. And so now you're in a situation where that defense although they have, acquired Geno Stone through free agency, all they have is Mike Hilton, who's getting up in age and probably is going to want more money as well. You have Sam Hubbard and you have Trey. And so, you're going to have to probably tack on more money on Trey Hendrickson's deal. You're just going to have to. Otherwise, he's going to walk. Or better yet, he's going to go into retirement. Yes, that's right, folks. He has thrown out retirement if the Bengals do not grant him a trade or pay him. And so, if you're a Bengals fan right now, things are looking a little bit shaky simply because you have T. Higgins, who has asked for a trade and has yet to get paid, hasn't even had contract negotiations since last March. Okay, you have Trey Hendrickson, who's looking for more money and has basically thrown out that he might retire as well. Meanwhile, you have a glass house and your quarterback in Joe Burrow, who inked this crazy deal, during the first 1 or 2 days of the new season for the NFL. But you have Jamar Chase as well that also is going to want to get paid as well. So it's like there's only so much money that can go around. Now, if you are a Steelers fan, Ravens fan, you are just laughing at this moment simply because all the Bengals fans that were saying, "Oh, this is our division now. We're going to win it. We're going to beat you guys. We're going to steamroll you guys. You guys can't do nothing anymore." Really? Really? Really, really, really? Oh, how the mighty have fallen. We have finally allowed you guys to have your fun, have your moment, enjoy yourself, celebrate, make a crazy run. But now it is time for you guys to hand over the keys back to the real teams that are really going to be competing to win the division. Case in point, Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens. Now, before we end the episode, I feel like I definitely need to put on another GM hat since I already have my original GM hat on, and let us do just a quick, brief prediction of how I think the draft is going to go. Personally, do I feel like the draft is going to be, just this traditional, everyone's just going to wait their turn? No. There's going to be a lot of trade ups. There's going to be a lot of movement. There's going to be players being shipped to other teams. I just truly believe that there's going to be teams like the Giants, like the Vikings, who, that need quarterbacks. They're going to try to move up as quick as possible and as high as possible. And you're going to have teams like the Chargers and maybe those other teams that are in the middle part of the draft that might want to trade down or possibly just trade out of the first round. Okay. Do I feel like Brandon Ayuk or Cortland Sutton might get traded, during the draft? Not really. Especially for Brandon Ayuk, simply because reports have come out that the 49ers are going to be looking for, high draft picks to facilitate a trade for Brandon Ayuk. Not to mention, a team is going to have to pay Brandon Ayuk top dollar. So I don't think a trade like that could possibly happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cortland Sutton gets traded either before the draft, during the draft, or, when the first round of the draft is officially over. I wouldn't be surprised simply because that's an easier trade to facilitate. You don't really have to give up a first round pick for him. You could probably give up maybe a second round pick and just tacked on a few more years on his deal. And then that's it. Now, do I feel like teams are going to be a little bit more aggressive in the second day of the draft? Possibly. If there is a prospect, that they've been eyeing on and they truly believe that they could try to trade up and get them, then, that could possibly happen. But once the fourth round ends, that's when teams are probably going to, trade down, trade out, and just try to recoup more picks for next year's draft. And then there's probably going to be other teams who are just going to be drafting, more for depth and not for starting caliber players. But I'm going to end this episode right now. Thank you guys once again for listening to another episode of the Football's Junkies podcast. If you like what you are listening, please, 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 please Download the episode so I can continue to give you the fix that you guys need. Leave a 5-star review for this podcast if you guys don't mind. Also, follow us on Instagram at football_junkiespod. Again, that is football_junkiespod. I'm going to try to see if I can crank out one more episode. If not tonight after the draft, probably tomorrow, just to react on the draft as a whole, as well as talk about any trades, any rumors that may be servicing, after the first round. But as always, I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode, and thank you so much for supporting this podcast. I love you guys. Can't wait till the draft tonight. I hope you guys are going to watch the draft like I will. There will be no special stream tonight due for unforeseen circumstances, but I will make it up to you guys. Trust me. Your GM will make it up to you guys. Love you guys. Peace.